And so he says he was bold, but then he says, but again, I read it. He says to speak unto you the gospel of God with much contention. Now that sounds interesting, but when we cross reference contention throughout the Word of God, we find that contention is negative, which is not a, we probably knew that. I mean, contention, we don't think about contention being positive, but it's a negative thing, like always, scripturally. The first mention of it is Proverbs 13:10. It says, only by pride cometh contention. So we're talking about investing humbly and with humility. So what was up with the contention? Well, the contention came from the people that he was preaching to. That's where the contention to. Paul didn't go to them with contention, because contention only comes from pride, and Paul didn't go that way. He didn't go in that manner. And so I read this a minute ago, but Acts 17:5, this is where the contention came from. Verse 5. But the Jews which believed not, moved with envy, took unto them certain lewd fellows of the baser sort, and gathered a company, and set all the city on an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to the people. That was the contention. So, it's important to study the Bible and compare spiritual things with spiritual, because someone may just casually read verse 2 there in 1 Thessalonians and say, oh, Paul went to them, he himself with the contention. But God's not called us to that. But he has called us to invest in people, even if it brings about contention. But the contention should never arise because of the way we approach them. Contention will arise at times because pride brings that. And when truth is presented to people, whether it's through the gospel or whether it's through the word of God to a believer, and it's a two-edged sword. It divides. And when people don't want to receive that, they get on the wrong side of that division, and it causes contention sometimes. But we should always be humble in our approach with giving people the word of God. And so Paul wasn't bringing about the contention. That their response brought that about. But what we do see is that Paul, I mentioned this, that he was trying to exhort them. Exhorting means to entreat or to implore someone, and even to comfort them. And so he was doing that with truth, and we should